The night was cold, and the human named Daniel was trying to sleep in his small room near the alien marketplace. He had come to this world as a simple worker, nothing more. He fixed machines, carried heavy crates, and sometimes helped merchants when their strange alien devices broke down. But that night, heavy footsteps echoed outside. Daniel sat up quickly. The sound was sharp and strong, not like normal people walking. Then he heard voices, low and commanding. They spoke in the alien. But he could understand a few words. The Queen, the summons, human. His heart raced. Before he could ask anything, the door of his room opened. Standing there were two tall alien guards, their armor glowing faintly under the torchlight. Their eyes were like burning silver, and their faces were hidden by masks. "You human," one of them said in a deep voice. "The Queen demands your presence now." Daniel froze. Why him? He was nobody. He wasn't rich, he wasn't a soldier, he wasn't even from this world. His voice cracked as he spoke. "I think you have made a mistake." The guards did not reply. They only stepped closer. One grabbed his arm, not with cruelty, but with firm strength that told him resistance was useless. Daniel felt his legs weaken as they dragged him out of his room into the dark street. The city outside was silent. Too silent. Not even the usual hum of alien machines or the chatter of night traders could be heard. It was as if the entire capital knew something was happening. Something secret. Something heavy with meaning. As they walked, Daniel saw figures watching from windows. Their strange alien eyes glowed in the shadows, whispering among themselves. Some looked afraid, others looked angry, but no one dared to step out. The streets opened into a wide stone path that led straight to the royal palace. Its towers stretched high into the night sky, glowing with an otherworldly blue flame. Guards said nothing as they marched him forward. Daniel's mind spun. Why would the Queen call him? He was a foreigner, a stranger, a man who barely understood their customs. Had he broken some law without knowing? Was this the end for him? Finally, the massive gates of the palace opened. Inside, the air smelled of strange incense, thick and heavy. Tall alien statues lined the hall, their stone eyes watching. The guards pushed Daniel forward until he stood before the great throne room doors. They opened slowly with a deep rumble. Daniel stepped inside. The throne room was vast, filled with shimmering light that danced on crystal walls. At the far end, sitting upon a tall silver throne, was the Queen herself. She was tall, her skin shining like moonlight. Her crown seemed alive, glowing with moving energy. Her eyes were sharp, and when they locked on Daniel, he felt his knees almost give way. Around her, nobles stood in silence. Their clothes glittered with jewels. Their whispers stopped the moment Daniel entered. All their gazes turned to him. The outsider, the human. The one who did not belong, bring him closer, the Queen said. Her voice was soft but carried a strange power that filled the entire hall. The guards obeyed, pushing Daniel forward until he stood just a few steps away from her throne. Daniel's throat was dry. He wanted to speak, to ask why he was here, but fear stole his words. The Queen leaned slightly forward, studying him as if she was trying to see through his very soul. "You are the one," she finally said. Her words echoed like a verdict. "You are the one chosen by fate, and tonight your life will change forever." The hall remained quiet. The nobles shifted uneasily. Some even gasped. Daniel felt his heart pound louder than the silence. He wanted to shout, to ask what she meant, but before he could, the Queen raised her hand. Her voice became sharper. "Do not fear, human. You are not called here for punishment. You are summoned for something greater, something extraordinary." Her words left Daniel shaking. He had no idea what she meant, but the weight of the moment crushed him. The eyes of the entire alien court were fixed on him, waiting, expecting. The Queen's lips curved into the faintest of smiles. "You wonder why you stand here, why my guards brought you from your bed," she said. "You will soon understand, but know this. Your place in our history begins tonight." Daniel felt the air in the throne room grow heavier. His hands trembled. His mind screamed with questions, but none dared to escape his mouth. He only stared at the Queen, terrified and curious at the same time. The Queen's final words for the night made the blood in his veins turn cold. "Tomorrow," she declared, her voice carrying through every corner of the palace, "you shall hear my request, a request no human has ever faced before." The nobles gasped again. Some covered their mouths. Others stared at Daniel with open disbelief. Daniel's heart thundered in his chest. Whatever was coming, it was not normal, not safe, and not simple. His life as an ordinary worker was already over. The summons had changed everything. And as the guards led him deeper into the palace, he realized one truth. His fate was no longer his own. Daniel barely slept that night. The palace guards had locked him in a grand chamber, but its beauty gave him no comfort. The walls shimmered with glowing crystals. The bed was soft as clouds, yet all he could feel was fear. Why had the Queen summoned him? What could she possibly want from a human like him? When morning came, the doors of his chamber opened. Sunlight streamed through tall windows, and a group of servants entered. Their eyes avoided his. They spoke no words. They dressed him in fine robes of silver and black, alien cloth that shimmered with every move. Daniel felt more like a prisoner being prepared for trial than a guest of honor. The guards returned, silent as before, and led him through long, shining halls until they reached the throne room again. This time the place was even more crowded. Rows of nobles lined the walls, their eyes sharp, their whispers louder than before. They all stared at Daniel with a mix of curiosity and disapproval. The Queen sat tall on her throne. Her crown glowed faintly, and her gaze was fixed on him the moment he entered. Daniel's legs felt weak, but the guards pushed him forward until he stood alone in the center of the grand hall. For a long moment, silence filled the room. Then the Queen's voice cut through it, calm but heavy. "Human," she said, "do you know why you have been brought here?" Daniel swallowed hard. His mouth was dry. He wanted to answer, but his voice cracked. "No, Your Majesty, I do not." The Queen leaned forward. Her silver eyes studied him as though weighing his very soul. Then, with words that froze the entire court, she spoke. "You must mate with my daughter, and give her a child." Gasps filled the hall. Nobles covered their mouths. Others shouted in disbelief. The echoes of their voices bounced off the crystal walls. Daniel's heart stopped. He thought he had misheard, but the Queen's steady gaze told him otherwise. Daniel's lips trembled. "What?" he whispered. His voice was lost under the noise of the court. "Silence," the Queen commanded, and the room fell quiet at once. Her voice was sharp, royal, undeniable. She rose from her throne, her tall figure shining with authority. "My daughter, the princess, carries a curse," the Queen explained. "No male of our kind can bond with her. All who tried have fallen. Our line, our people, stand on the edge of ruin. Only you, human, stand untouched by the curse." Daniel's mind spun. He wanted to scream, to run, to say no, but his legs were frozen. "Why me?" he managed to say, his voice shaking. The Queen's gaze grew harder. "Because fate has chosen you," she said. "The signs were written long before you came. You were not brought to our world by chance. You are the answer the stars promised." The nobles broke into whispers again. Some argued loudly. "Impossible. He is an outsider. This cannot be allowed. The Queen has lost her mind." The throne room trembled with voices, but the Queen lifted her hand, and silence returned instantly. "My word is law," she said, "and my command is clear. He will bond with the princess." Daniel's knees almost gave out. The idea was impossible, insane. He was a mechanic, a wanderer, not a prince, not a savior. He shook his head slowly. I don't belong here," he whispered. The Queen's voice softened, but it carried even more weight. "You have no choice, human. Refuse, and our bloodline dies. Refuse, and our enemies destroy us. Refuse, and your own life will end here. Tonight." The words hit him like a hammer. His chest tightened. He looked around, hoping for someone to step forward, to tell him it was a cruel joke. But all he saw were sharp, alien eyes, staring, waiting, judging. Then, From behind the queen, a soft sound echoed, a voice trembling yet filled with quiet strength. "Mother, let me speak." The nobles turned, and for the first time Daniel saw her. The princess. She stepped out from the shadows, her figure wrapped in flowing silver robes, her skin glowing faintly, her eyes deep and strange, carrying sorrow and hidden fire. Daniel forgot to breathe. She was beautiful, yes, but not in a way he had ever seen. There was something fragile yet powerful in her presence. The entire hall bowed their heads as she walked forward, but her eyes never left Daniel. She stopped. A few steps away from him, her voice was soft, almost a whisper. "You fear this command," she said. "I fear it too." Daniel stared at her, words caught in his throat. The princess lowered her gaze, her hands trembling as she spoke. "Every suitor who touched me has died. I do not want your death on my hands." The queen's voice thundered from the throne. "But he will not die. He is the one. The curse will not harm him." The princess flinched, then raised her eyes to Daniel again. There was a silent plea in her gaze, a question she could not ask aloud. Daniel felt his chest tighten. The whole court watched him. The queen's command hung heavy in the air. His mind screamed at him to run, to say no, but his heart whispered something else, a strange pull as if destiny itself had tied him to this alien girl's fate. And in that moment, standing in the middle of the alien throne room, Daniel realized one terrifying truth. His choice was gone. His life was no longer his own. The court was dismissed, and the nobles left with angry whispers and fearful glances. The queen's words had shaken them, but none dared to disobey her. Soon, the grand throne room was empty except for guards, the queen, the princess, and Daniel. Daniel's head spun. His heart had not slowed since the queen gave her command. His thoughts clashed against each other. He wanted to scream that it was madness. He wanted to demand answers, but the queen only gave him a sharp look. "You will stay with my daughter today," she ordered. "She will explain what I cannot." Before he could protest, the princess stepped forward. Her movements were soft, like flowing water, yet her eyes held deep shadows. She looked at him for a moment, then turned without a word. Her silver robe brushed against the crystal floor as she walked. A guard nudged Daniel to follow. They walked through a long corridor that led away from the throne room. The palace grew quieter. The sounds of nobles, servants, and guards faded. Behind them, finally, the princess opened a door and led him into a smaller chamber. It was beautiful yet lonely. The walls shimmered with faint light, but the air was heavy. She closed the door and faced him. For the first time, her voice was free of courtly weight. It trembled like someone carrying pain for too long. "You must be frightened," she said. "I am frightened too." Daniel swallowed hard. "Why me? Why did your mother ask this of me?" His voice cracked, his chest tight. The princess looked down. Her fingers brushed against a glowing crystal table as if she was afraid to meet his eyes. "Because I am cursed," she whispered. "No man of my people can touch me. The moment they try, their bodies fail, their hearts stop, they die in agony." Daniel froze. Her words hit him like ice. "Cursed?" he repeated. "How? Why?" Her voice broke. "I do not know. Since I was a child, healers searched for answers. Priests searched the stars. My blood carries something no one can cure. Every suitor chosen for me has died. Some after a kiss, some after holding my hand." She trembled as she spoke. "Do you know what it is to watch someone die because of you? To feel their last breath while you stand untouched?" Daniel's chest ached. He could see the pain in her eyes, not just fear but deep loneliness. Her beauty was not her curse. Her curse was isolation. To everyone else she was poison. "But why me?" he asked again. His voice was softer now, not with fear but with pity. Her eyes finally met his. They glowed faintly like stars reflected in water. "Because you are different. Human blood does not carry what ours does. You walk among us, but you are not of us. The curse cannot touch you, or so they believe." Daniel shook his head slowly. "So I'm just an experiment? A gamble?" The princess winced. "I did not ask for this. I never wanted it." Her voice cracked. and for the first time he saw tears shimmer in her eyes. I do not want your death to stain my hands, too. Daniel took a step closer without realizing it. Something about her voice pulled at him. Her sorrow felt heavier than the Queen's command. He wanted to speak, to tell her it would be fine. But the truth was, he didn't know. He was terrified, too. The princess turned away, walking toward the window. Outside, the alien city stretched far into the horizon, glowing under the pale sun. Do you see them? She whispered. My people, they hate me. They blame me for the suitors who died. They call me the cursed heir, the death princess. Some say the throne will fall because of me. Daniel's throat tightened. He had seen loneliness before, but nothing like this. A girl born, to rule yet trapped in a cage of fear and whispers. He understood now why the Queen's command was so desperate. I don't hate you, Daniel said suddenly. His voice surprised even him. The princess turned, her eyes wide. He swallowed and repeated, I don't hate you. Her lips parted as if she wanted to reply, but no words came. For a long moment, silence filled the chamber. Her gaze softened just a little, as if his words had cracked the wall around her heart. But then she looked down again. You don't know me, she whispered. You don't know what this will cost you. Daniel stepped closer. His fear had not left, but something stronger pushed him forward. Then tell me, he said, tell me everything. The princess hesitated, then slowly nodded. Very well, she said. Her voice was heavy with fate. But once you know, there will be no turning back. Her words hung in the air like a shadow. The chamber felt colder, the silence heavier. Daniel's heart beat loud in his chest. He had thought the Queen's command was terrifying, but now he realized something worse. The daughter's secret was only beginning to unfold, and it might be more dangerous than the curse itself. Daniel woke the next morning with a heavy weight in his chest. The princess's words echoed in his mind. Every suitor who touched me has died. He had barely slept. But there was no time for rest. The palace guards came to his chamber and ordered him to follow. They led him through twisting halls until they reached a wide stone courtyard. Dozens of nobles and soldiers stood watching from high balconies. Their sharp eyes burned into him, whispering as he passed. The princess was there too, sitting beside the Queen. Her face was calm, but her hands trembled in her lap. Daniel was pushed to the center of the courtyard. A massive gate creaked open, revealing a dark tunnel that led underground. He stared at it with unease. The Queen rose from her throne-like seat above. Her voice was clear, carrying across the courtyard. Human, she declared. Before you can stand beside my daughter, you must prove yourself worthy. You must pass the trials of strength, courage, and heart. A ripple of murmurs moved through the crowd. Some laughed softly. He will not survive, one noble whispered. The Death Princess will never be his. Daniel clenched his fists. He didn't want this trial, but he knew refusing would mean death. He nodded slowly, though fear twisted his stomach. What must I do? The Queen raised her hand. Enter the trials and let fate decide. The guards shoved him toward the tunnel. His steps echoed as he walked inside. The gate slammed shut behind him, sealing him in darkness. Only faint torches lit the stone walls. The air smelled damp and ancient. A voice boomed from above, echoing through hidden speakers. The first trial, strength. From the shadows, something moved. Daniel's breath caught. A creature stepped forward. Its body was massive, covered in thick scales. Its forearms ended in claws, sharp as blades. Its eyes glowed yellow. Daniel had no weapon, only his hands. His heart pounded, the beast roared and charged, the sound shook the walls, instinct took over. Daniel dove to the side. The claws scraped the stone where he had stood a second earlier. Dust rained down. Daniel grabbed a broken chain from the ground, swinging it wildly. The creature lunged again, jaws snapping. He ducked, wrapped the chain around its arm, and pulled. With all his strength, the beast roared in rage, thrashing. Daniel was thrown to the ground, pain shooting through his body, but he held on, wrapping the chain tighter. Finally, with a desperate shout, he yanked hard. The creature stumbled, crashing against the wall. Dust exploded. Daniel grabbed a loose stone and smashed it into the beast's glowing eye. It howled, shaking the chamber, then collapsed with a thunderous crash. Daniel fell to his knees, chest heaving. His arms trembled with exhaustion. But the beast did not rise again. Above, the nobles gasped. Some could not hide their shock. Impossible, one whispered. A human defeating that? The queen's voice echoed again. The second trial. Courage. Another gate opened deeper inside the chamber. A dark passage led to a cavern glowing with strange blue light. Daniel stumbled forward, his legs aching. His heart was still pounding. From the fight inside, he found a deep chasm, a bottomless pit glowing faintly with swirling energy. On the other side was a narrow bridge made of crystal that cracked with each step. Daniel stared, his throat dry. Below, the energy swirled like hungry fire. One wrong step and he would vanish. He took a breath, then stepped onto the bridge. It groaned under his weight. His pulse raced as cracks spread beneath his feet. He forced himself forward, step by step. The voices of the crowd above were faint but mocking. He will fall. He will never reach the end. Halfway across, the bridge shook violently. A wave of energy shot up from the chasm, nearly knocking him off. Daniel flung himself forward, arms scraping against the sharp crystal. Pain burned, but he clung to the bridge, breathing hard. Slowly, carefully, he rose again. His body trembled, but he kept moving. Finally, with one last desperate step, he leapt to the other side. Collapsing onto the solid stone, cheers erupted from some, gasps from others. The queen's voice boomed. The final trial, heart. Daniel looked up, confused. The passage ahead opened into a chamber, glowing with soft light. In the center stood the princess herself. Her silver robe shimmered, her eyes were sad. She stepped closer. "This trial is not about fighting," she whispered. Her voice shook. "It is about truth. Can you face me knowing what I am? Can you accept a future, bound to my curse?" Daniel froze, his chest tightened. He thought of the beast, of the bridge, of the fear he had carried, but this was harder. The princess's eyes searched his soul. "If you cannot say so now," she whispered, "better you leave than die because of me." Daniel swallowed, his voice cracked but did not break. "I don't know what fate will do to me," he said, "but I will not turn away." The princess's lips trembled, her eyes glistened. For the first time, hope flickered across her face. The chamber glowed brighter. The trials ended. The gates opened again. The queen's voice thundered. "The human has passed. Strength, courage, and heart are his. He is worthy." The nobles erupted in chaos, some shouting in fury, others whispering in awe. Daniel stood weak but alive, his body shaking, his mind heavy. But deep inside, one truth burned stronger than fear. The trials had not broken him, they had chosen him. The trials were finished, but Daniel's heart still raced as if he were running. His body ached from wounds and exhaustion. Yet the queen's voice echoed. In his ears, "He is worthy." The nobles had not accepted it easily. Their protests filled the palace. Some demanded his death. Others shouted that tradition was broken. But the queen silenced them with a single command. "The ritual begins at dawn." That night, Daniel was taken to a quiet chamber deep within the palace. The walls glowed faintly with soft light. Strange. Symbols covered the floor, carved into the stone. He was told to rest, but rest never came. He sat awake, thinking of what tomorrow meant. The princess would be there. He remembered the sorrow in her eyes, the way she had whispered, "I do not want your death on my hands." He wasn't sure if she feared the curse more, or feared hope itself. At dawn, the guards came again. They dressed him in ceremonial robes, white with silver lines that shimmered when touched by light. They gave him no weapons, no crown, no jewels, only silence and a sense that he was walking toward something final. He was led into the ritual chamber, a vast hall unlike any other. The air smelled of ancient incense, heavy and sharp. A great circle was carved into the floor, glowing faintly with blue fire. In the center of it stood the princess. Her robe shimmered like liquid moonlight, her eyes lifted to meet his. Around the circle, priests stood chanting. Their voices rose and fell like waves. The queen sat upon a high seat. Watching with sharp eyes that never blinked, Daniel was guided. To stand opposite the princess, the fire circle hummed with strange energy. He could feel it crawling across his skin. The head priest raised his staff. His voice boomed. The bonding ritual begins. By strength, courage, and heart he has proven worthy. Now he must bind his soul to hers. The princess's hands trembled. She stretched them forward, palms open. Her voice was soft but clear. Do you accept this bond, knowing the curse that lives within me? Daniel's chest tightened. He thought of all the men who had died before, their lives ended by touching her. He thought of the lonely girl who had been forced to live as poison. And then he thought of himself. A simple man. A worker who never wanted destiny, but destiny had chosen him anyway. His voice cracked but stood firm. Yes. The hall fell silent. Even the chants stopped for a heartbeat. The princess's lips parted, her breath unsteady. She lowered her hands until they hovered just above his. The priest's voice thundered, "Then let your souls touch. Let fate decide." Daniel's heart pounded louder than the chants. He lifted his hands slowly, inch by inch. The air grew hotter, brighter. The blue fire rose, surrounding them like a living wall. The crowd held its breath. Then, his hands touched hers. For an instant, everything froze. Daniel braced for pain, for death, for the curse to strike. But no agony came. Instead, warmth spread through him, his chest filled with a strange light. His vision blurred with golden sparks. The princess gasped, her eyes wide with disbelief. It doesn't hurt," she whispered. Her voice trembled with shock. "You're still alive." The priests fell to their knees, chanting louder. The fire surged higher, wrapping the pair in a dome of light. The queen's eyes shone with triumph. Daniel squeezed the princess's hands gently. He could feel her trembling, not from fear, but from something new. Hope. She looked at him, tears glistening in her eyes, and whispered, "You broke it. You broke the curse, but the ritual was not over." The priest raised his staff again. "The bond must be sealed. Speak your vow, human, or the fire will consume you both." Daniel's throat was dry. His heart thundered. He looked into the princess's eyes and spoke, "I vow to stand beside you, to protect you, to never turn away, whether curse or fate. I accept it." The fire roared as if alive. It wrapped around their joined hands, burning bright but without pain. The princess's lips trembled. She whispered her vow. "And I vow to share my life with you, no matter the cost. No curse will keep me from this bond." The fire exploded, upward, filling the chamber with blinding light. The nobles cried out, some in awe, some in rage. But when the light faded, Daniel and the princess still stood together, alive, their hands still joined. The queen rose from her seat, her voice thundering, "It is done. The bond is sealed. The human lives. The curse is broken." The hall erupted in chaos. Nobles shouted. Priests cried out prayers. Guards pounded their weapons against the floor. Some cheered. Others cursed. But none could deny what they had seen. The princess looked at Daniel, her tears falling freely now. You saved me," she whispered. Daniel felt his chest tighten. He wasn't sure if he had saved her, or if she had saved him. But in that moment, standing in the circle of fire, he knew one truth. This was no longer just about survival. This was the beginning of something greater. The ritual was complete. The circle of fire had faded, and Daniel and the princess still stood together, alive, bonded. For the first time in years, hope filled the queen's palace, but hope is a fragile thing, and enemies are quick to strike it down. The moment the queen declared the bond sealed, angry shouts rose among the nobles. Some clapped their hands in rage, others spat on the floor. One shouted, "This is a lie, the human is a trick. He cannot be our future." The queen's eyes blazed as she rose from her throne. Silence, she commanded. Her voice shook the hall and most fell quiet. But in the back, hidden shadows moved. Daniel felt it first. A sharp shift in the air. A wrongness, like danger pressing close. His instincts screamed. He turned just in time to see the flicker of steel. An assassin burst from the crowd, cloaked in black, his blade aimed for the princess's heart. No, Daniel roared. He shoved her aside and caught the assassin's arm. Pain seared his hands as the blade cut across his skin. The hall erupted in screams. Guards rushed forward, but more shadows leapt from the balconies above. A dozen assassins, armed with alien blades that glowed with deadly light. The nobles scattered. The priests fell to their knees. The queen shouted for her guards, but chaos spread faster than her words. Daniel pulled the princess behind him. His heart pounded. He had no weapon, only his bare hands. Another assassin lunged at him. He ducked, grabbed a fallen guard's spear, and swung with all his strength. The weapon cracked against the assassin's chest, sending him crashing into the stone floor. The princess clutched his arm, her voice shaking. "They're after me!" "Stay behind me," Daniel shouted. His arms ached, but his will burned hotter than fire. 3 assassins rushed together, blades flashing. Daniel blocked the first strike, spun the spear, and struck the second in the leg. The third slashed across his shoulder, pain, exploding, but he refused to fall. He roared and drove the spear through the attacker's chest. The crowd gasped. Some nobles fled in terror, others watched with wide eyes. The queen herself stood tall, fury burning in her face, but even she could not stop the chaos that filled the hall. More assassins broke through the guards. Their target was clear. The princess. Daniel realized it in an instant. "They don't care about me," he growled. "They want her dead." The princess's eyes filled with fear. "It's the council," she whispered. "They fear our bond. They want to erase me before the curse is truly broken." Daniel's blood boiled. He spun the spear in his hands, his body screaming from wounds, but his mind locked on one truth. He would not let them take her. The battle turned savage. Blades clashed. Blood splashed against the shining crystal floor. Guards fell. Assassins pressed forward. The queen shouted orders, her voice echoing. "Protect the air, protect the bond." Daniel fought like a storm. His human strength and stubbornness made him unpredictable. He wasn't trained like the guards, but desperation fueled him. He slammed one assassin against a pillar, snapped the spear in half, then used the broken shaft as twin weapons. His arms moved with wild power, striking faster than the assassins expected, but he was bleeding badly. His breath came in gasps, his vision blurred. The princess saw him stumble and cried out, "You can't fight them." "All." Daniel gritted his teeth, forcing his body to move. "I don't need to fight them all," he growled. "I just need to keep you alive." Suddenly, a loud crash shook the hall. The massive doors burst open. More guards rushed in with shields, driving back the assassins. The queen raised her staff, and light surged across the chamber, blinding the attackers. The remaining assassins fled into the shadows, vanishing as quickly as they had appeared. The hall fell into silence, broken only by the sound of Daniel's heavy breathing. He collapsed to one knee, his robes torn, his skin bleeding. The princess fell beside him, her hands shaking as she touched his face. "You saved me." "Again," she whispered, tears in her eyes. Daniel gave a weak smile. "Guess I'm getting used to it," he said, his voice rough but steady. The queen stepped forward, her eyes blazing. She looked at Daniel with something new. Respect. "The bond has already brought enemies to our gates," she declared. "But this human has proven not only his worth in trial, but in battle." The nobles were silent now. Some still glared with hate, but none could deny what they had witnessed. The man they called outsider had stood against death itself, not once, but twice. Daniel's strength faded. He leaned against the princess. The guards lifted him, carrying him away. His wounds would need healing, but before he left the hall, he met the queen's gaze. Her voice was low, meant only for him. "The trials tested you," she said, "but war will test you. More tonight was only the beginning." Daniel felt the truth of her words burn inside him. The unseen enemy had shown its hand. They wanted the princess dead. They wanted the bond destroyed. And he knew now. His fight was not just for survival, not just for the princess, but for the future of an entire kingdom. Daniel lay in the healer's chamber, his body wrapped in glowing bandages. Strange alien herbs burned in bowls around him, filling the air with a bitter scent. Every breath hurt. Every movement sent pain through his arms and chest. Yet he was alive. The princess sat beside him, her hands folded tightly. She had not left his side since the assassin's attack. Her eyes never stopped watching him. Her voice never stopped whispering. "Stay alive. Please stay alive." When Daniel finally opened his eyes fully, she exhaled in relief. Her lips trembled with a smile. "You don't know what you've done," she whispered. "You broke the curse, you saved me, and now you saved us all from the assassins." Daniel tried to smile but winced. "Feels like I've been saving you every day since I got here," he muttered weakly. She laughed softly through her tears, but her laughter carried weight. It was the first time she had truly laughed in years. The queen entered then, her tall figure glowing. Under the soft crystal lights, the guards bowed as she stepped forward, her eyes locked on Daniel. "You were not born of this world," she said, her voice low and steady. "Yet you stand as its protector. I owe you more than words, human." Daniel struggled to sit, but the queen raised her hand. "Rest," she said. "Your time will come soon enough." Her gaze shifted to the princess. "The bond is sealed. The curse is broken. And now a future we thought lost has returned. Our bloodline will continue. Our enemies will not destroy us." The words carried through the chamber, but they weighed heavily on Daniel. He remembered the queen's first command. "You must mate with my daughter and give her a child." Now the meaning of that command was clear. It was not only about love, it was about survival. Later that night, when the healers left and the guards withdrew, the princess and Daniel sat together in silence. Outside, the alien city glowed under twin moons inside. The fire of the bond still pulsed between their joined hands. "I was born cursed," the princess whispered, her voice trembling. "I thought my life would end in loneliness. I thought no one could ever stand beside me. But then you came. A stranger, a human. And you broke chains I thought unbreakable." Daniel looked at her, his voice rough but filled with truth. "I didn't come here to be a hero. I didn't want any of this. But now, I don't think I could walk away even if I had the chance." Tears filled her eyes, but they were no longer tears of sorrow. They were tears of release, of freedom. She leaned her head against his shoulder. "Then don't walk away," she whispered. "Stay and build this future with me." Daniel closed his eyes. His heart knew the answer long before his lips spoke it. "I'll stay," he said simply. Days passed, and the palace healed from the attack. Yet the whispers of rebellion grew stronger. The council had failed to kill the princess, but they had not given up. The queen warned Daniel that war was coming, that their enemies would not stop until the Yao bond was erased forever. But for now, a moment of peace filled the halls. The people saw their princess walk through the city with the human by her side, and hope began to rise where once there had only been fear. Children pointed and whispered, "The curse is broken." Merchants bowed their heads as the pair passed. Some even shouted blessings into the air. The queen gathered her council and declared, "The bond is not a weakness, it is our strength. This human has given us a future, and no enemy shall take it from us." That night, Daniel and the princess stood on the highest balcony looking at the stars. She turned to him, her eyes glowing with soft silver light. "Our bond is more than tradition now," she said. "It is life. It is the bridge between worlds." Daniel looked back at the endless stars. "Maybe this was fate," he said. "Maybe humans were meant to stand with you, not apart from you." The princess smiled, taking his hand. "Then let this be the beginning," she whispered. "Not just for us, but for everyone." Far below, the city lights glowed brighter. as if answering her words. And though Daniel knew battles still waited ahead, though he knew enemies still moved in the shadows, his heart felt something stronger than fear: hope. For in that moment, he understood. This was no longer just about a queen's extraordinary request. This was the start of a story that would shape the stars, and somewhere deep inside the palace, the priests whispered of prophecy, that from the union of human and alien princess, a child would be born. A child who could change the galaxy forever.